My name is Tudor, I'm 41, and I'm the only thing separating you from the coffee break. So thank you for staying here, the ones who do stay. I'm a designer, I'm a product designer and service designer, so I'm not a programmer. To me, most of the talks are Chinese. Yeah, so yeah, you see people having meetings while I do the talk. So the thing about me is that I'm wondering why I'm here. And the explanation I found is that it's like cooking, you know? When you have, you need the ingredient to have crunchiness and taste. So you need something different to be added to the recipe in order for it to work, to create delight or pleasure. So I'm thinking, and my assumption is that everyone somehow is connected to the why we do the things we do, to the why we work, not only to the how. So I'm thinking that what I'm going to talk to you today about is also something that you sometimes think about yourselves. A few things about me. I worked as a product designer, product manager in several companies for about 14 years, and then started my own consultancy company 6.5 years ago. At the same time, I started teaching at the Școala Informală de IT, the informal school of IT. I'm teaching a product design bootcamp. And I've worked on a few apps. But the work I'm actually proud of is my more than 200 alumni from my 4-month bootcamp on UX and product design. An app that I built for the ambulance volunteer network. I mentored more than 60 startups. Sorry, maybe if I turn off Wi-Fi, this will work. Yeah. I mentored more than 60 startups along the way in innovation labs and other incubators and accelerators. And I volunteered in Code for Romania, the Civic Labs project, for a while. So this is the actual work I'm proud of. And I'm the type of person who doesn't separate personal life and work life too much because I really love what I do. The types of projects I used to do are these types of projects. Some of these apps you know about, but don't love necessarily because they're utility apps. So I didn't work on games or any other fun projects, but I consider this type of work fun. As I was working on digital products and services, I started wondering about what we should design first. And one of my mentors said this to me, that designers should design, meaning the way we do design. Researchers should mainly research, so the way we do research. And I'm asking you, what should technical people do? What should you code first? Yeah, so if you do a continuation of this for technical people.
Probably researchers should give the input to the designers to give the development.
And what should the tech guys do? If designers design first, researchers research, what do they do? That's an open question. Think about it, yeah? So the thing is, I realized we rarely stop to think about how we do things and why we do the things we do. We rarely stop to think about the meaning of our work. So this startled me at first, and then it changed the way I think about my projects, and finally I started my own company just because of that. I mean, just because I started thinking about this. Because I realized I was output driven. I was driven by the actual pragmatic, palpable things we did back then, not about the outcome I wanted for my work. I was driven by the output requested by business or by clients, and not by the outcome from customers. So the idea is that our work should be useful. We want our work to be used and appreciated by others, right? We don't just commit code for the sake of committing code. Yeah, we don't design products for the sake of moving pixels around. what we do it for is helping people solve things for their own life or problems connected to their activity. So if you look around this room, or in any room, you don't see too many things that grow like this in nature. You mainly see things that are designed by humans. The chair you're sitting on, your backpack, any little thing, like the pen you're writing with, everything, every small thing, and there are thousands around us every moment, are designed by people for other people. And I want to ask you, what makes a good design and what makes a bad design? Do you consider yourselves designers? You don't recognize it. That's very good. So you don't go necessarily to an exhibition to watch good design. Because good design dissipates, it's all around you. You don't notice it. Once you notice it, the design is trying to say something about the author. Or the design is trying to be different than what actually helps people. Sorry. So what I'm saying is that we're all designers, be it if we want it or not. So if we choose to say that we are designers, that we are building things for other people, and we are trying to help people with our work, it means that somehow we are designers. And the ethical implications of doing that are quite heavy. So there's statistics on how many startups or new ventures, be it outside company or inside company. So this is also true for corporates. So when they start new initiatives. There's this international research firm trying to understand what makes new initiatives work. And they discovered that most startups, most new initiatives die. So if there can be said, like something that is statistically relevant about all new ventures, is that they die. All new projects have something in common. Most of them die. Do you know why? What is the main reason for that?
They don't have a clear mission.
Clear mission. Okay, you're close. Relevant for the customer, really close. Okay, that's like the thing that we don't do in order to make them work for the customer. So, this company, which is called CB Insights, you can search for the entire report. I encourage you to do it. They asked people to tick the number of things that are true for them. Why did they fail? So what they realized is that in 3 years' time after they started, more than 98% of new initiatives die. And the most frequently invoked reason for this is that there is no actual market need for the product they're developing. So imagine this. People work 3 years, convince others to invest time, effort, money into an idea, and realize after 3 years, so 3 years, it's a lot of time, they realize that there is no actual need for what we're building. Why do you think we do that? True, but why don't we do it? So we don't incorporate user feedback. We never think about doing that. We actually rarely think about asking people about their experience first before designing something. And then we fall in love with technology. We start projects rather by saying, let's do something with VR, let's do something with blockchain, let's do something with cloud, and we try to find a huge range of possibilities, and we get spaced out by that. So we don't reach a consensus with the end user on what they actually need. We're not focused on delivering something of value. We're rather focused on writing interesting code or solving interesting problems or stimulating ourselves intellectually rather than making something useful out of it. Unfortunately. So you see, no market need is first, but then if you go down on this list, you'll see that They say also the product was not user-friendly. Isn't that the same thing? That they didn't do something. Then the product did not have a functional business model. Isn't that the same thing? Poor marketing. Of course, they didn't know how to talk to their users. And then, like this is bluntly, they ignored their customers. So the big problem I see every time in the technology world, in incubators and accelerators everywhere, with startups, even mature ones, is that once they start from an interesting tech idea and they pitch it to people who are stimulated intellectually by the same idea, they get money for that. And they start believing that they're smart and the idea is valuable without actually getting first to the user. And then we try to pitch and sell our idea to everyone instead of doubting it. So the good thing to do first, if you want to create something for yourself, and I really hope some of you are really young, but some of you are at the point where you're thinking, should I start something for my own? Should I start my own project? Or should I start one in the company I work for? Yeah? Can I have a raise of hands for the people who think about that, of actually starting a new project for themselves or for their company, who are stimulated by the idea of being in a startup or having something of their own? Interesting. So can I assume the rest of you are stimulated by interesting code only? I doubt it. So the problem is that we're asking for validation. We're always looking around for validation. We're always praying for someone to notice us and how smart we are, and the nice problems we solve with the nice code or nice design we create, instead of actually pulling our ego out of the equation and trying to deliver something for actual users. And we are actually trained to do that. The Romanian schools especially, since we're young, teach us to solve problems. They give us the problem, they don't ever ask us to think about the problem itself. Is it a good problem to solve? No. They simply give us the problem to solve, and they ask us to solve it. And they do that every month, every year, until we're grown-ups, until we finish the university. And then we write in our CVs that we're good problem solvers for something very specific. We write this type of code, but really well. We're really good at testing this way. We're really good at doing nice designs, or we're really good at writing user stories and creating, doing the rituals for the ceremonies for Agile. And we write that in our CVs. We never write that we're really good listeners or empathic people. We never proud ourselves with the fact that we're good at listening and finding opportunities for real problems to solve. So this is the muscle we should train. Stepping back and actually training ourselves to look for the right problem to solve. Because our life isn't endless. Our life is short. And we want that meaning for our lives. We want to invest the time we have in solving relevant things for relevant people so that we can pride ourselves with the fact that we did awesome work. We did work that is valuable. So we already know how to solve the right problem. What should we do then? So what should we do in order to create more opportunity for us, for our meaning? So the first thing to notice about design is that it's not necessarily creative. It's a creative problem-solving method, but it's not necessary. It doesn't have to be creative. It's mostly meant, so that design in general and design thinking in general is mostly meant to cut down losses. Are you familiar to the idea of sunk cost, the sunk cost fallacy? Who knows about it? So it's the moment when you are waiting for the bus sorry, the tech team, I don't see the timer here, so maybe you help me with that. So is the moment when you're waiting for the bus doesn't arrive, but you're still waiting for it because you've invested too much time in waiting. Or is then when you notice that you are in a, I didn't see it, it's a small screen rather than the big screen. And I cannot see it from my screen. So the thing is, we sometimes realize we're in a relationship that lasted for a long time, but it's not working anymore. But we don't leave, we stay there because we've invested too much. We sometimes find ourselves in a job that we despise and we don't like anymore. And we stay there just because we've invested too much. Who found himself or herself in such a situation? If you didn't, you're a very happy person. Okay, I really envy the people who didn't find themselves in such a situation. So design is especially meant to do this thing, to cut losses, to prevent losses, so to decrease cost. And how we do it is we start with a business challenge. But we don't decide that the business challenge is the way we should do things. We don't take the business request coming from the client, from the company CEO, or from whatever else. We don't take it for granted as the way we should do things. We take it as the description of the problem. We ask them, but what is the problem we're trying to solve? We don't say, okay, you think this is the solution, let's write code, or let's design the screens. We don't ever do that. When people tell us there's a problem and they think about a solution, we ask them, okay, and what is the problem? And what's the user's problem? And why does this happen? And what is the actual root problem? What is the cause of it? So we ask questions, we clarify, and only after we have an agreement, so the extended team has an agreement on what problem we're trying to solve, we start the project. And we start the project by clarifying the outcome. So we look at the end of the project and we say, this is how it should look in order for it to work, to deliver value in business, to deliver value for customers, and for us to be satisfied with our work. So if we don't do this, what will happen along the way is that people will expect different things. Our language convention doesn't help us at all. We think that we understood the same thing because we're using the same words, but we rarely do mean the same thing by them. So what we should clarify is KPIs. How do we measure success? Yeah, it's like you're writing the definition of done in a good story in Jira. Yeah, you're writing the definition of done with clear KPIs on how it should work. Yeah, this amount of downtime, this amount of time that it takes for an API or a customer to get this type of data, and so on. So we measure things from the point of view of business, from the point of view of the customer, and we write that down before we start the project. And only that, we start asking ourselves if we're solving the right problem. And in order to understand that better, we start talking with experts, because there are always smarter people than us, people who've invested a lot of time already in thinking about that type of problem. And we talk with them. We ask them out for coffee or dinner or an actual customer interview. We record it. We do transcripts. We underline things in the transcripts. We cluster the ideas, the main ideas we get from that. We put those together, and we discover there are other problems surrounding them. Because we don't think that customers live in a screen. There are all these things and emotions circulating around them every day, and they are competing with the solution we create. So we try to understand that small universe and focus on it and decipher what is the more important or the root cause for that customer, and we take that problem and we change it into an opportunity. And this becomes the business challenge. So we're here in the middle of the process. We've opened our mind to understand better from experts, from users, how their context looks like. Then we focus on one or several opportunities, and those opportunities become the goal of the project. This is where you usually start. Yeah, this is where you usually get the requirements and you start building. But we're skipping the most important part every day. And there are also some tricks about creating solutions. Once you focus on an opportunity, you can go and create several options, several ways to solve it. And provide decision makers, provide clients with options. Let them contrast and compare, because this is how people decide better. And only then, only after that, they can believe that they've chosen the best solution for their problem. And after we finish this process, we finish with business cases and requirements. So this is the work done before requirements. Is it important for technical people to be in this process? Definitely, I think so. Because if you're disconnected from why you do the work, will you do the work? I mean, will you do the actual thing that's supposed to be done in order to solve the customer problem? Or will you do something different? We've always seen requirements and final solution that don't resemble each other, yeah? So we've always seen that. And we must be very considerate about the amount of work put in by people who try to clarify the problem before us writing code or doing design. So basically how it looks like is that first, I know empathy sounds like very cheesy, but we start first by trying to empathize with the actual experts, with our colleagues, with the customer or the client if we're a B2B business, and then define what is the opportunity, what is the best place to start with. Then we ideate, we create a lot of different possibilities, and we let them coexist. We don't put them in competition. Yeah, we don't sit around the table. We don't do, how do you call it, grooming, yeah? We don't do grooming in a competitive way. We put all the ideas on the table or on the wall, and we let them coexist because they cross-pollinate each other, and we can get inspiration out of that. We don't compete in ideas. Yeah, we don't each grab our own idea and try to push it and pitch it and convince others that our idea is better and the others are shit. What we try to do is let them coexist for a bit, and then separate our inspiration, our ideation process from the moment we choose. And then we can choose just by voting. Or we can ask our decision maker to invest in the ideas put on the wall. There's an agile game, yeah? Like buy a feature. You can actually buy a feature. You can ask people in the agile team to buy the feature they really believe in, and they should not vote for their own idea. Because if the idea is good, the others will vote for it. I keep touching the microphone, and I really apologize for that. So, what do we do after that is we prototype. We show it before we code it. We show it before we actually design it. We sketch the thing, like pen on paper if possible, so that we clarify that we're seeing the end goal in the same way with the others. And then we test it. We test it with the expert inside, maybe with customers. And only then we are able to write the conclusions of our test, the lessons learned, and proper specs. Isn't it painful to receive specs that aren't properly researched? Isn't it painful to discover while writing code or doing the testing that the business owners didn't really consider all the options? Does it happen to you? Okay. So it's an iterative process. We can always go back. We can always turn to things that we didn't understand too clearly or to things that didn't have too much context. And then we can revolve around it. If we drop a hypothesis, we kill it. It's a bad idea. We're saving cost. So it's not a failure. It's an opportunity to learn. We can always go back, take another insight or another idea, and go along with it, and test it, and so on. Sometimes, when I work with technical teams, they discover they have 200 ways to solve one issue. And they can always go back and prioritize another if they kill the first one. Because what we actually seek is value creation. And for this to happen, we shouldn't start from what is technically viable, from the technology we have at hand, or with the technology we want to use. We shouldn't start from what's feasible, either. We shouldn't start from what's making money for the company. We should start from what's desirable for customers, because that's a larger universe that we can pick from. And only then find the overlap. Yeah, so find the overlap between these three, and this is where the real innovation comes from, and this is where we feel our work has purpose, has meaning. So let's talk a little bit about the thing that's missing, about research. How much time do I have? Like 14 minutes, good. You can always stop me if you want to ask questions. There are different types of research, and for sure you are already doing some research. The research you usually do as technical people is technical research. You look at what other people did to solve the same type of issue. You look at code that's already been written. Lately, you started probably playing around with generative AIs that can generate code based on the models they've trained on a lot, like piles of code. And then this is called, what type of research do you have here? So it's generative because it gives you more ideas, more solutions to build on. It's evaluative because it gives you a way to compare the solutions others have created. It's attitudinal because you usually choose something that you like. It's not something you choose based on actual customer behavior. You're rarely looking at real customers who use those models in order to make the decision. You're actually picking the most elegant code, or the thing that works for you better in the context, in your project's limitations or boundaries. So it's attitudinal. Attitude values less than behavior. Pay attention. And it's also deductive, because you also can find new solutions based on something that has already been developed. But there are several other types of research. What should we choose first? So most of you have tried at least once to ask why and how, at least for ask the product owner or the QA or the tech lead or the client if you're working freelance. So you try the qualitative approach. You try to find the context, understand the meaning of it. Why are you doing it? So you tried your best to find out the why. Can you do more of that? Of course you can. You can always find actual users. You can always look on the app stores if you're developing apps and read the customer feedback. You can always look for more. Do we look at quantitative? In my experience, you rarely do before you start coding. Maybe you look at statistics, at reports from like performance reports, if you need to improve performance. But you rather look at the quality of the code that is already written. So maybe there's more quantitative data that you can bring into this decision-making process so that you make smarter decisions. Also, we tend to look at attitudes. Why do you, when you do the estimation in a team, or when you do grooming, you're always asked, why is this the solution? Why is this the way to solve this problem, this story? And this is attitude. You always say that, I like this more. I think it works. So the attitude you have towards the possible solution. But should we consider behavior? Of course we should. We should look at what the existing customers are already doing, and this should be heavier in our decision-making process than our attitude towards what we like or dislike. But always, we should use a triangulation of methods. We should pick something from every part of the screen and form a complex way of looking at things. Look at it multidimensionally, not unidimensionally, so that we become smarter. We can turn it in every way and look at it from different perspectives. So, as you probably understand, it's not an event. It's not innovation or design or meaningful work are not something that you do by closing yourself in a room, working by yourself alone, without talking to people, and going out like running naked on the streets and screaming eureka. Yeah, you don't have that. It doesn't exist. We have to put in the work, the research work, to be able to become better at solving problems for real users. So it's a process. It's rather a tedious process, a painful one, that is saving us from more cost. Because it's really expensive to pay you guys. Yeah? It's really expensive to pay a development team and then do iterations in code. Yeah? Write code and then decide, no, this is not what we should have done. Let's go back and write it again. Do a complete refactoring of the thing. And you see people leaving the company frustrated. You see people trying to understand why is not the business considering these things before writing down requirements. Yeah. So this is why we should have a process for actually solving things on paper before we write any line of code. There are several quantitative methods I would advise you to use. One is surveys, but surveys doesn't mean like forms on Google Forms that you distribute on Facebook or forums, but rather real research with real customers that are using the solution you're trying to fix or create. Eye tracking. If you look around the internet, there are also eye tracking tests for programmers. So you can see how's the best way to build your environment in order to be more effective, to not dissipate your attention to different topics. I see most coders using 2 large screens, or 3 or 4. What that does is always coming up with distractions, like my notifications at the beginning. Yeah, we always have distractions. Something is pulling out of our focus. So what we should try is see what we see first, see what we read first, and prioritize, design our work environment as well, our interaction with the team as well, do the design process for us to become better at what we do, and have less distractions, have less cognitive load. And then analytics. I bet you all have that, some sort of analytics. Of course, some implementations lack detail or are quite shitty, but you do have some sort of analytics. You can count on it. And also, if you have the people like in business to do it with, do some usability testing. Show the thing you're working on, at least in prototype form. Do the front end first, if possible. Show it to actual users, get feedback, and only after that, write the back end. And if you have complex menus, and most of you probably already worked at something with a very complex dashboard or menu, try card sorting or tree testing exercise where you ask users to do their own sorting and their own grouping of menus so that it's easy for them afterwards to find the options that they're looking for. The problem we all face is a business problem. We tend to think that if we work on a project and then deliver it, then we do marketing, and then we have users. So we want to attract as many people in our funnel in order to have users. So for most people, even very educated business people, this seems to be the obvious way to do it. So we managed to have a very tight funnel that delivers few users at the end. They go through our funnel and end up using the product because they encounter barriers or something blocking along the way. We don't look at that. We look at the number of people we attract with marketing, and that's a huge cost. A huge cost that we put on top of the development cost, and then at the end, we have a few people who manage to survive our funnel. How we should do it? We should look at the people who do not enter our funnel first and talk with them. And see why don't they do it? And then talk with the people who became aware of our product but lost interest. And understand why they lost interest. And then start from the bottom. Start from what's working best and make it work in the best way possible. Enlarge the funnel at the bottom, and only then all your investment in marketing or communication will work better because it will deliver a larger number of customers at the end of the funnel. So the thing is that we should always combine qualitative and quantitative input. We should always pay attention to our attitude compared to real data. Sometimes real data coming from customers or business should be more valuable compared to our attitude towards how we solve a problem. So there are some things here that I will skip. The idea here is that we should combine always quantitative with qualitative, that one informs the other. But we're not robots. Yeah, please consider that we're not machines. Usually, we make decisions based on gut feeling. Even if we read piles of charts and reports of data, even if we have the best machine learning possible, we always get informed by that and make qualitative, ambiguous decisions based on gut feeling. So in order to make better decisions, we should inform ourselves the best way from different possible angles. So triangulate. Always do a triangulation of methods that you use for making decisions. So pay attention to using quantitative collection methods improperly. So if you want to start your own idea or validate internally with colleagues, do not use a basic form that you distribute in your own bubble. Try to go outside your bubble. Try to go to people who you don't meet usually, who you don't have contact with, that don't have the same idea polluting their heads. So try to go outside the perspective you already have. And there is a huge strength in actually looking for digging out quantitative relevant data for making decisions. This will always be more powerful for business, for stakeholders, for clients, for the team when you're estimating anything or choosing the way you do things. But when we look at data, raw data, we can fall into the trap of considering that our customers are like a socio-demographic profile. We say the year they were born in, how many kids they have, what their level of success in business is, or what their job is, if they're wealthy or not, where they spend their free time, and so on. And we think that is a clear understanding of the customer profile. But the same people having the same socio-demographic ingredients might be very different. So be careful about considering data exclusively. Always look at context. Always talk to real people. Always inform yourselves by looking the person in the eye and asking who they are, why they are like that. I can let you take the picture if you want. So, yeah. Okay. So I'll be closing this up because I don't want to eat your coffee break. But if you have questions, please ask them. So I hope this was like the nice distraction from the usual presentation at the code conference. But also do contact me if you have any questions. If you want to talk about things, about different types of methods or techniques, I've tried a lot of them. but I don't assume that I know it all. So I probably can learn something from you too. Let's see if I have anything else that I could tell you right now. Just, yes, or a recap, that's perfect. So, start by capturing all the ideas. It's a divergent process. Always separate the divergent, exploratory process of our mind, of our brain, and do not combine it with the prioritization, with the debate, with the moment we make decisions. Separate ideas, fact-finding, exploration, from exploiting the information. Do them in separate moments. Yeah, so always have a separate moment when you capture all the ideas, all the information. When you ask people about something, do not be critical, do not be competitive when you do that. Just look at it with wondering eyes like a kid would. And then give yourself a moment to vote, prioritize, discuss if you want. Always separate the two in order to have better meetings. And then when you prioritize what's the biggest opportunity for your customer, for the end user, then for you, then for the business, so everyone is served. And then when you design, come up with different solutions on paper, and do not work on only one way to do things. Because decision makers can always make better decisions if they have more versions to compare in front of them. And only then go to delivery. Yeah? Select the ones that work, test them, learn from them, then go through delivery, and continuously learn out of that. If you want to find me on the internet, you can always do. If you want to continue the discussion, as you see, I had 70 slides. I would never have had the time to show them all to you. But okay, no internet, no video. So if you want to continue this discussion, it can take days if you want. You can look for me, and also I'll be around so you can ask me questions during the coffee break as well. Thank you.